Hey guys, welcome back to the Rad Hyrox podcast. Today we're joined by Lizzie May. She is a Hyrox performance coach who is coaching competitive fitness lovers to crush their first Hyrox and beat their PB if they have one. Her Instagram is full of absolutely amazing tips and training ideas, both to improve your fitness as well as your Hyrox race strategy. There's something there for everybody, for sure. It's absolutely full of tips and tricks. So we think this is going to be an awesome episode because one of the main things we try to get is some tips and some advice for people to improve their Hyrox racing. And I can't think of anyone better. So thank you for joining us, Lizzie.
Thank you for asking me. I have to say, when I started listening to you girls probably about a couple months ago, and when you sent me a message asking if I'd come onto your podcast, it was a bit of like a fangirl moment. So I was like, oh my God, they've asked me. This is amazing. So thank you. Really, really honored.
Oh no, thank you so much. It's just so nice to hear from loads of different people and also all across the world because you are not based in the UK, are you? Is it Bangkok you're based in?
Yeah, that's right. So I'm English German, grew up speaking English. So that's where the accent, I think a lot of people say, oh, I can hear the German. There is no German there at all. I think it's probably from just living all around the world, being in international schools when I was growing up. So I pick up a bit of Australian and American words here and there if I get a bit lazy. But if I talk to my mum on the phone, the British definitely comes out. But I've been living in Thailand now since pretty much solidly since the start of COVID, so 2020. So coming up to, yeah, nearly 5 years now. And I've just recently been in Bangkok for the past year, which has been, the past year has been 2024 has been a wild ride. And kind of since my Instagram kind of started to perform and boost a little bit, and Hyrox came about, for me at least, started getting into it. So it's been, yeah, been one crazy year.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And have you always been in the fitness industry, or was that kind of since COVID as well, since the move, or has it been like a lifetime kind of thing with you?
I think like I've listened to a few of your podcasts, and a lot of people say like, "Oh, well, I was always into sports as a kid," and that's true to an extent. And I've been trying to think back how it's come about that I've become into fitness because as a kid, I'm trying to think. My brother took up when he was young, probably around like age 10. He's a year and a half younger than me. He took up football and didn't like it. So I grabbed his cleats and started to play. So I played, and football is really big in Germany. Every tiny village has a boys and girls team. So we were competing against the locals, traveling with international schools. I also started a bit of volleyball, a little bit of tennis. So always in school as a like extracurricular activity, always done something active. And then when I left and went to university, that's where things kind of started to slip. I didn't join a sports team straight away. I was at UCI, played football for a year, and then kind of let it slip. And probably for about 18 to 26 or 25, I didn't really do any fitness. And I remember just feeling so lost about what to do in fitness. I must have been at the age of maybe 19 at the time, going to like the university gym. I wouldn't touch the weights area. That was for the boys, that was for the men. I'd hop on the treadmill for maybe 10 minutes. I can't even tell you what pace I was running. And then I'd head over to the mats and do like some crunches and Russian twists and be like, right, I've done my fitness, like I'm getting fit. Or I think at the time it was always the goal was I just want to be smaller, because that's all you would see at the time. I think Instagram was like just happening then. So that's all you'd want to see is like skinny models, the slimmer, the better. And I thought that was the way to go. But surprisingly, university, I was just drinking a lot and probably eating whatever like crappy food I can get my hands on here and there. So really didn't see much change. And actually, probably like a lot of people say, I think it's the like university 15 pounds or whatever that you gain at the time. Uh, and actually got into fitness again when I was living in Australia. This must have been my second time going to university. The first time wasn't a big success. I dropped out halfway through. Second time I went in, I studied marine biology and oceanography because that was
Wow.
my real passion at the time. I had worked as a dive instructor and a underwater videographer before that. So I had a big love for the outdoors and for marine life. And I did my final year a semester in Australia, in Adelaide. and joined an F45. And that's, I think, what really sparked kind of something in me for kind of more high intensity aerobic conditioning kind of workouts. And moved back to London, kept going to an F45, started working there as front of house. And it was only when I decided to move back home to Munich that I was looking for, I didn't have a job at the time, and I kind of was looking, wasn't looking, and I was like, well, I need to find a gym, something just to anchor me in my daily routine. And I joined a unit gym studio, which is similar-ish to F45 in that it's like circuit style base, a little bit more strength and conditioning with more barbell work. And I was there and they're like, oh, you're kind of fit. Compared to what I am now, I definitely wasn't fit then, but I think I had more of a mindset of wanting to be into fitness. And they said, oh, you seem quite fit. Like, do you want to coach? I think they must have been desperately looking at the time. And I was like, okay, sure. Like I've worked, so I helped them a little bit with front of house, got my level 2 and level 3 certification, and then started working there as a group fitness coach. And so that's kind of how it started, really just sort of organically, like kind of fell into the role. I was asked to do the role. And from that moment, like loved it. I haven't looked back since. That's what I've always, from a kid, wanted to either be a teacher or a writer. And so that teaching aspect came out through scuba dive instructing, and now fitness instructing, now online coaching, and the writing aspect, I guess now with the marketing, the social media that I do, it all ties in together. So yeah, F45 was kind of the start of my journey, and then slowly transitioned into more CrossFit stuff. And now with, which is I think a nice blend, is Hyrox. Kind of found what suits me, my body type, where I'm at the moment with what I think I'm best at and what I enjoy the most. And now I work solely remotely online coaching clients. So it's been I always say to people, like, my 20s has been a shit show because I had no idea what I wanted to do, from geography to marine biology to now into fitness. And I feel like finally now at 32, I've kind of found something that I really, really love doing. And speaking to you girls about Hyrox is great because I feel like conversations I have with people, I'm like, what is there to talk about? Because I only talk about fitness and Hyrox.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. This will be easy then.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about marine biology.
I've forgotten it all, I think, at this point.
Pretty cool though. It's quite cool to hear the journey you've been through, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that can relate. And I think when you leave school, everyone goes, "Oh, go to university and go get a job. Like, what are you going to do?" And it's hard to know what to do. And sometimes you do just have to follow your passion. And if you have a love for something, and I think a lot of people that are into Hyrox and fitness now, and I know a lot of people we've spoken to, maybe a lot of people's lives have changed through Hyrox because they found a fitness race or like a discipline of sport that they can actually relate to. So they are, tailoring their lives around it, which is really exciting.
Yeah, I know definitely a lot of friends who have found sport and found fitness, and they've become a coach or instructor, whether that's just part-time, they do on the outside of their 9 to 5, or they've transitioned fully into the fitness industry. And I think if you become really into fitness and find kind of a discipline that you're passionate about, I think it transitions into every other aspect of your life. You become, because to improve, you have to be disciplined with it. It's, almost a daily thing you have to commit to, that transitions then into your commitment for other things in your life, taking care of yourself, your health, your well-being, meeting other people, the community aspect of it, from whether it's F45 unit, CrossFit, Hyrox. I think that's the thing that I love so much about fitness is when I go to the gym now, I'm probably there for about 3-4 hours. An hour of that is working out. The rest of it, I'm chatting to people, meeting friends. It's where I'm social. I don't need to go to the bar anymore. I go to the gym to
Yeah.
hang out with my friends, which is fantastic. And meeting so many people. Like this weekend, oh my God, last minute, like being asked, can I join a doubles team for a CrossFit competition? And I haven't done like CrossFit for probably coming up to like properly for 6 months now. But just meeting so many different people, they're all lovely. They're all there just to improve themselves, test them, challenge themselves. And that's been, so those kind of things, I'll always want to sign up and join because you're guaranteed to meet someone, and they're so supportive as well. I think you'll know you're in a good gym because, or the people in the gym are good with doesn't matter if you're a newbie or you're injured or you're coming back after taking a break, that everyone will cheer you on no matter what level you're at. And that's something I always try to preach when I was coaching and even online. It's like, it doesn't matter what your results are. It doesn't matter what your time is, what weights you're lifting. It's you're there, you're showing up and putting the work in. And that's a skill and dedication that I think is the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important as well because like training for whether it is Hyrox, CrossFit, running, like any discipline, it takes like time and patience and you're not going
Mhm.
to get the results that you want straight away. Like just because you do a couple of sessions for 3 weeks, you're not going to suddenly become this athlete that you like really want to become. So it's quite important to have like the community aspect because it keeps you going and it keeps you like getting the support, getting cheered on and wanting to carry on. Otherwise, I think it's quite like a lonely place when it's you against you the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I found it through just going to the gym and training myself. I'll go through phases, like either I really love it, just doing my own solo workouts, but I'll always loop back to joining a class. It kind of is the one thing that also pushes you to like other people around you, like, oh, but they're still working, so I should still be working. I can't take a rest. And it does push you to like get that next level if you haven't yet
Mm.
achieved that. I say that though for competitions and races, I've only done, this will be I think my second competition I've done as a doubles. I always find doubles like really anxiety inducing because I have like a fear of performing, and if I have a doubles partner, I'm like, oh, I don't want to let them down. Like they're way better than me. I can't join them. I can't ever like meet their expectations of what they want to achieve. So this is, and actually it was with the same partner. This was 2 years ago, and then again this weekend. So my next, wow, doubles Hyrox mixed will be in May in Bangkok, which slightly nervous for. But again, from this weekend, like thinking back, it was actually pushed myself probably harder than if I'd done the workouts on my own. Because Mark, my partner, is an absolute beast. He's done CrossFit for years. And we had to do like burpee over bar, and he just kept going. And I was like, all right, gotta keep going, gotta keep jumping. Always speeding up. Okay, I'll speed up. um, so
Yeah.
that's the one thing that and it's something that I kind of alluded to, haven't really spoken about but my closest friends will know about it, is I have really bad anxiety before competitions. I keep signing up for them, and every time I sign up for one, I say, no more. The rest of this year, no more competitions. After this one, no more, because it's a lot of stress on the body, both mentally and physically. And I'll do a competition. I'll be like, oh, that was actually really fun. All right, we'll do the next one. So this year wasn't supposed to have any competitions. Now I've got, well, this weekend was very impromptu. I've got May coming up, Hyrox. There might be thinking about joining one, Shanghai or Taipei in April. It just happens.
Okay. Yeah,
You keep
yeah.
signing
I
up for
think
another one.
there's probably so many people that can relate. Like I think a lot of people get like anxious, don't they? But I think it's like learning, and I don't know whether it's like if you do more, you learn to control them. Have you from the first one you've done to like say the last one you just did this weekend, have you come across any techniques or anything that you've done to control the anxiety and the nerves, or are you just
Um,
embracing it and just trying to get through it and just are you okay once the competition starts? Or
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So I started like properly doing fitness competitions with CrossFit, and this was, I'm trying to remember this when this was. This is when I had my gym, so it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 3 years ago it must have been. It was a CrossFit competition. I'd never officially formally trained CrossFit. I think it was 3 months before the competition, and I hired an online coach from Germany. So I was still in Thailand. He was in Germany. And I said, I've got this competition in 3 months. Can you help me? And he's like, cool. Okay. I knew the workouts by then for the competition. And he said, okay, can you do pull up? And I'm like, well, I can do it, the very controlled way, like a bodybuilder might do a pull up. And he's like, okay, cool. Not quite CrossFit, but all right. Can you do toes to bar? And I'm like, no. He's like, can you do any Olympic lifting, barbell snatches, clean and jerks? And I was like, nope, can't do any of that. And training with him was, I remember it must have been, the competition was in January, so it was over Christmas. And I remember just being in floods of tears. It would come and go like every few days, being like, how am I going to do this? Like, my anxiety is so high right now. And all it was an expectation from myself. Like, I was just getting into Hyrox. I knew into CrossFit. No, I knew no one else that was going there. I was going on my own. It was in a different town. And I thought, I want to just drop out. And talking to friends and talking to my coach, he's like, you'll be okay. Like, just stick to the plan. You'll be all right. And I remember the first event, I was shaking so much. The adrenaline in me, like trying to do snatches with a barbell, I thought I was going to pass out. And after the first event, I was like, oh, that was one event. I've just got 4 more to go, and that wasn't so bad. And meeting people there, I was in a scale division, so meeting a lot of other people who had just started CrossFit as well, meeting some of the RX athletes, really, really welcoming. And I think once you're in it, you've got past that first like high heart rate, adrenaline rush, you kind of settle into it. The process repeats every time I compete, every single time. And I think it goes back to, and maybe some people like yourselves or people listening will understand, like, this goes back to being in school and university when I had the same anxiety for performance with my exams. And I remember the first time I studied, going into an exam hall, hadn't studied at all, hadn't cracked open a notebook, nothing, walked in and left within the first 15 minutes. I think 70%, 80% of the questions were left unanswered. And I think it was liberating to do that, to be like, I haven't studied, I'm going to go out, I'm putting my hands up, I give up. Slowly, I think facing my fear of just going and doing those hard things, even though I feel like I want to quit, definitely makes it easier. That I've done it before, you showed up, you tried your best, you've been through those emotions, you can do it again. It doesn't mean I might not feel in the moment as confident, but having known I have the experience from doing it. So even if it's, oh, I haven't done this specific race before, this competition before, well, you've done that exam before, you've done that other race before, that other presentation at work or whatever it may be. So I think it definitely, the more you do it, the easier, I think the easier it becomes to understand those emotions, what they feel like, why you're feeling them. But there are a few things I've noticed over the past kind of events that I do. There's certain playlists I'll listen to that make me feel like really powerful, really confident. I have on my phone, I'm doing this on my phone, so I can't show you, but if I'm coming up within the first few weeks of a competition, I'll change my screensaver background to either a lion, or I think it's a wolf. That for me kind of embodies something like an animal that's really powerful, really strong, courageous. So, and as the weeks kind of lead up to it, I keep looking at that, and that kind of reminds me. What else do I do? I think those are the 2 main things actually that I've kept consistent, is a certain playlist, a certain image that I have around me.
Yeah, that's cool. That's like really good tips. I think a lot of people will relate to that. And like you say, it doesn't necessarily feel like it's getting easier, but you are, yeah, you manage it and you know the emotions that you're potentially going to be feeling. So it's like not a surprise for when it happens, I guess. But no, good tips. I like them. They're really, really good.
Yeah, and the other, for Hyrox specifically, the one thing, and I've posted a little bit about it, and I think I keep wanting to post about it, because one is like tips and technique, or the rules that I think I found really useful, or things in my training. It's all come from my personal experience, what things I found in training, no matter what competition it's been, that I've found really helpful. But is going through my thought process when doing something new. So for example, even now, like through Instagram, oh my God, my whole feed is probably the same for you girls, is just Hyrox now, just Hyrox and elite athletes. And I'll see some people running, or on YouTube, and they're running a sub 4-minute kilometer pace. I'm definitely not there. That is not my pace. I think I'm more comfortable with like a 5:15 pace. And I see these people, I'm like, oh my God, they're running so fast. Like, I can't do that. And my initial thought was, oh my God, I can't run that. That looks like Hyrox. They're doing this super fast pace. I'm not ready for this. So it's a style of video that I'll keep posting, and then showing my pace in the race, because I think a lot of people have that thought that, oh, the elites, that's what they're doing. They're Hyrox. I'm not at that level yet. Why should I even sign up? Why should I compete? And I always I get the question of, well, what's the best pace for Hyrox? I had the same question, and I laugh at it now because you could walk the whole of Hyrox if you really wanted to. You could walk every single lap. There's some people that do. We've got like 70-year-olds doing it, people who are disabled doing it. How fast you run will dictate your time of finishing the race. But I always say to people, just be consistent with your pacing. Like, pacing is probably the one thing I say to anyone. My biggest tip is pace yourself. And as I get older, I find that knowing how to pace yourself in workouts as well as races and competitions is probably the biggest thing, because it's you understanding how your body functions and responds and how to control it and your heart rate. But yeah, I say to anyone, like, you run your own race. I know it's so cliche. It's kind of like the thing that you hear everyone talk about, but it really is true. Like, it doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. And the elites as well, like, they're in a different ball game. A lot of them have been athletes since they were kids. They've been conditioned to do these extreme workouts and do races back to back and do a 100-kilometer run, and then the next weekend another Hyrox. So I know it's quite inspirational to see. And even myself, I look at them and I'll have to like swipe out of Instagram because I'm like, I'm getting overwhelmed. I'm starting to feel like I'm inadequate. I can't do this. So even for someone who has done competitions before and who their profession now is a coach, I still feel it as well. I'm like, oh, this feels like a little bit much. So it's what I always try and teach.
The algorithm as well, isn't it? Like you said about Instagram, I think like our feed is all Hyrox now, and if once you get into Hyrox, and you can get overwhelmed with it because it's
Oh,
all
100%.
these elites, and yeah, like you said, everyone that's like training. I mean, we just did Auckland Hyrox, and this week we've just taken a real like step back. We're having a massive deload. We're running if we feel like it. We haven't really done much else, and
Yeah.
but then other people that have competed last week are back in training. They're back in training, they're smashing every day, but it's not right for us and we're not there. But if you look at Instagram, you'd be like, oh, sugar, I should be in the gym. What am I doing? Like, why am I not in the gym? Why do they feel okay? Why are they like smashing out great times and we feel tired? Like the comparison, you're absolutely right.
Mhm.
But you don't know what other people are doing, what the background is. You don't know, if they've been a professional like sports person for years, you compare yourself on like this algorithm and the best part of their day. I don't know, they might have been sleeping the rest of the day and not had a big flight, but the comparison thing on Instagram I think it's a really good thing to raise. And I think very
Yeah,
a lot of people.
so true. And it's the one thing I found when I started like being serious about my Instagram and it started growing, getting new followers, and I'm like, oh, right, this is kind of it wasn't ever intentional to be that. And it actually wasn't ever intentional to be Hyrox. It kind of just like naturally happened that way. But what ended up doing, what's the word, having the most engagement and the best results was videos I made of conditioning workouts. So anything that had running, assault bike, sleds, wobbles, burpees, and you'll see other workouts, people doing like crazy stunts in the gym, pull-ups and then clapping, or like with weights around them, or some like insane sprinting workout. They always perform well because Instagram, it's entertaining. Really what we're doing is we're making entertaining content. Try to steer it in a educational way, but it's visual. Like that's why we're on Instagram, is because it's entertaining to watch. And it was something in me that I haven't posted a lot of workouts, conditioning workouts, in a while, because it just didn't sit right with me in a way that was all I was showing. And I thought maybe people might get the idea that's all the workouts I do are mostly conditioning, high intensity. Because the funny thing was, if we go way back to when I first became certified, I was working at Unit, and this was in Munich, and Hyrox started in Germany, and this was probably around 2017, so when Hyrox actually first came out. And I actually worked with Viola, who is prominent in the Elite 15 women. She was a beast back then. Oh my gosh, she was insane, endurance athlete. Uh, and Hyrox came about, and her and another group of people that I knew started training for it outside of the gym hours. I remember seeing one of their trainings. They invited me to one of their sessions, and they were doing like between nearly up to an hour, or 2 hours, sorry, of solid Hyrox station work. And it was 100 wobbles into like flights of stairs, farmer's carry into like 100 lunges, insanely heavy sled push. I remember watching them being like, this looks insane. This looks, you're crazy. I'm never doing that. Like, I was totally off the idea of Hyrox, put it out of my head. I then moved to Thailand, so I didn't hear about it because it wasn't a thing in Asia at the time. Uh, and I just thought that looks crazy, like doing all that high intensity stuff. I loved high intensity and kind of like hit training from F45, but it wasn't what they were doing. That was another level. Uh, and it came around to oh, it must have been around March or April last year. The CrossFit gym I was working at started teaching Hyrox classes. And at the time, I wasn't coaching CrossFit. I was coaching all the more functional classes for them. And they said, hey, we're going to start doing Hyrox classes. Can you teach the Hyrox? I'm like, yeah, sure. I knew about Hyrox then, but I wasn't into it fully, and found that I was like, oh, this is kind of more like my speed, more my style. CrossFit was great. There was elements of it. I had a really good engine. I think that was naturally just my genetics part of it was that engine work, more of that 30 to 45-minute workouts. I notice now it takes me about 10 minutes to get into a workout. So the longer style definitely suits me, compared to CrossFit, which is more like your 3 to 15-minute WODs or something. And started coaching it and really enjoyed it. And so I started posting about the workouts I was doing or classes I was joining in. Yeah, and it was those conditioning classes that people really loved. But I have a real problem with the kind of going all out all the time, maxing out, just thinking I have to work for 45, 60 minutes at my maximum redlining. And it's taken me a while now educating myself as a coach to understand that actually, specifically for Hyrox, I think for most sports, redlining all the time and just going all out as hard as you can is not the best approach at all. And actually, for myself, kind of transitioning more into the steadier state, zone twos, a little bit of zone threes, that zone 4 or 5, I don't ever touch. And if it is, it's for a tiny percentage of my workouts. So that's kind of where I'm trying to lead my clients and customers into, to at least educate them on the benefit of that, because I think people just feel like if I'm pushing myself, I'm progressing. But in actual fact, you're really just fatiguing. You've got more recovery time, which we probably aren't taking. And it's just not an efficient way of training. But that's taken me a long time too, because I used to love just like going hard, getting my heart rate up there. Like in F45, they have the monitors that show you the points you collect if your heart, like, and that's, I think the points are from accumulation of having high heart rate. And that's broadcast in the class with all the members. So I think there's a little bit more education that can happen, and as well posting videos of me doing what I like to call my grandpa shuffle. If I'm on a zone 2 run and I'm like, I have to remind myself, just grandpa shuffle. So I keep my pace low, I keep my heart rate low. That doesn't really look entertaining on Instagram. I don't think it would do very well. So I'm finding that balance between like, okay, what help, because from a business side, what will help me boost my account to new followers, and also what is also educational, that is actually providing some value to people and their training.
Yeah, I think that's like really nice to hear though, and really important that you are putting out content that you like want to educate people. And you've just admitted that the grandpa shuffle's not the one that's necessarily going to get the most new followers or the most likes, but it's also an important one to put out there, and you want to kind of show your whole training and your whole self and whole like world of the hybrid athlete, as opposed to just the little bit that looks good and makes people go, oh wow, she's amazing, like look how fit she is, or look how strong. It is a balance, and I'm sure it's very hard to kind of navigate as well how to do it, but it is very important, and it's nice to hear that you say you're trying to do it as the whole picture.
Yeah, trying to, and still learning. Like, I'm not gonna, like, I'll be completely honest, like, I'll still do double sessions some days. I might underfuel some days. I might sit on the couch for an entire week. So like, I think we're all human, and it's something that although I am professional within the fitness industry, like, I still have a life. And that's slowly what I'm learning too, is how although it's my job, although a large part of my work is fitness, is being in the gym because I'm filming or I'm working out or I might be coaching or just being social networking. It is just still one part of my life. And I think people need to realize that it's, it has to, fitness should help you live a healthy, long life. It's about longevity, rather than the other way around of it consuming your life. That's something that I'm personally trying to learn. Because I did go through kind of overtraining. It must have been, and I had to drop out of two competitions, a Hyrox race and a CrossFit competition, because stupidly I tried to train for both at the same time. I can tell you, maybe some people can do it. I definitely couldn't at the time. And I was also coaching, working 2 online jobs. Like, it was just a lot all at once for me, and what I could achieve. And I ended up having to take probably about a month off from all training. And mentally it was really difficult to go back to that, to go to that place of feeling like I wasn't progressing, I wasn't in the gym, I wasn't moving. And I kind of felt like, oh, I've kind of failed a little bit at this hurdle of being kind of a fitness professional. But I think it's from those mistakes that we learn. I know we all make mistakes with things. I've seen, and actually it's probably one of the things I value most when I see some of my friends who are professional in CrossFit, that them failing a lift or failing in a competition. Or I've seen one of my friends, it was a different functional fitness competition in Malaysia, and they had a sled push, and his shoes, I don't know what kind of flooring they had. It was some kind of almost felt. He couldn't move it because his feet kept sliding out of his shoes. This was a guy who's like I'm trying to remember, like, number one fittest male in CrossFit in Thailand for the last few years. Yeah, and he was just stuck, standing in place, like feet moving, not going anywhere. So it's been really humbling to see myself fail or see others fail, because it just reminds you that without that, you don't learn from it. So that idea of you have to be perfect or get a certain number in a race or a competition, like, it really shouldn't matter.
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't define you, does it? It's just a part of your life and you trying to like better yourself, but it shouldn't be at the detriment that you're, yeah, overtraining or injuring yourself or like mentally like being too hard on yourself. Absolutely. I think like a lot of people as well, you put so much pressure and so much into a race, or you build it up in your head. Actually, like 2 days after that race, it's probably only you that's still thinking about it. Nobody else takes as much notice of you as you actually think they do. Like, I think you build it up and think, oh, everyone's going to be watching, oh, everyone's going to think this. Like, people get on with their lives. People have got other stuff going on. Like, you've built it up so much that sometimes you just have to remember it is just a race or a workout, or it's just part of who you are. You shouldn't, like, yeah, like you said, it shouldn't define you. But it's quite hard to, when you're in that and you've put so much into it, and I guess everyone's trained every day and you've made the sacrifices of getting up early and things like that, it's quite hard to then feel like, oh, it doesn't matter. Don't worry if it doesn't go perfectly to plan,
Yeah. And that's a really hard thing, I think, about I myself need to remember it. It's a specific day, like, to ask yourself to perform in a certain way on one day at one time. So many things can go wrong. You might have eaten something funny or drunk, or it might be super hot that day. Like, I know they were saying Auckland, your run loop was outside and it was really hot, I think, over the weekend, right?
Like, look, yeah. And then I was like, we wake up on the day and I was like, oh, it's all right. It's cloudy. This was like 8 a.m. And we were running at like 12:30. And by the time I got to
No.
it was full sun. I actually got sunburned. I even put sun cream on.
Yeah.
By the time I got back, I was like, God, I actually, even just doing that 1K lap. But I was like, run faster, get in before the sun gets.
Yeah. there's so many variables that you can't control, or your mindset. Like I'm sure we've all had those workouts. We get to the gym and like I just can't get in that zone, or something's bothering you. So to ask yourself to perform on a specific day, like you're kind of a bit of a gamble as well. And it takes, I think, to have, like I said, a routine, some music you listen to, or a certain routine with what food you eat. You'll only learn those things from doing it again and again and again. But coming back to like people watching you, or you feeling like people are going to care what you do. I know I'm like, from being in the gym, like you're thinking, oh, I can't try this new exercise, or I don't want to, or be in the gym when guys are there or girls are there because they might be looking. I have to say, if I'm watching someone in the gym, it's probably because they're doing something really interesting, and I'm like, oh, what are they like? I haven't seen that before. I want to know like what finds out, or find out what they're doing. Or they're really impressive. Like if someone's looking at you in the gym, or they find you attractive and want to ask you out, like honestly, I think if someone's looking at you in the gym, like it's probably for a positive reason. So not to be, yeah, the people that I admire the most, they go in there, they do their thing, put big headphones on if you need to, like, and just
Yeah.
go for it, try it out.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then what about the Hyrox scene
Hmm.
in Asia? Like you obviously went to Hong Kong to do your race, and then
Hmm.
I know you said you've signed up to Bangkok. Like how
Yeah.
is it kind of over there and growing? Because we've experienced the UK growth, which has been insane, but are more people starting to sign up for the races or go to the Hyrox classes at the gyms and things like that?
Yeah. Oh my God, it has exploded. Like I know the UK and the US, like tickets sell out. Now, like I think they do now like a ballot or something, don't they, in the UK for
Yeah.
tickets. Like you can't even sign up. You have to like put your name in and hope you get a
Yes.
ticket. And
Sorry, mental.
I've heard people are now traveling more to Europe because there's more chance that they can get a ticket for a race. Um, Saying that, with Bangkok, they released one day. It was a Saturday, and the tickets were gone in 48 hours, which is mental. 4,000 tickets. They released a second day, the Sunday, 4,000 tickets. That also went within 2 days. Like I've never, and it is insane. The gym that I go to, the classes are always full for Hyrox. It's the one class that is always fully packed. So it's really boomed, I think, as well as Bangkok being, in Thailand in general, really affordable place to visit. So Hong Kong, Singapore, they're quite expensive flights, accommodation. I think I bought my ticket for Hong Kong like maybe only 4 weeks out, 3 weeks out, and booked all my flights and everything last minute. But it's really, really boomed, and it's so interesting. I think Asia's kind of the last kind of continent to really catch up with this style of fitness. And it's really great to see. Like from what I've heard is that Thailand is really into running, and they've got some amazing endurance athletes in running and cycling. Um, but yeah, with Hyrox, it just kind of has opened up to every person doing it, and a lot of friends, even if they're not like um more of the endurance functional fitness athlete, like, okay, I'll sign up. It's in our city, it's in our country, I might as well do it. So that's really cool to see, is that people are just giving it a go because they've seen it explode across the rest of the world. And so now they're giving it a try. But yeah, my doing mixed doubles, my partner, he messaged me saying, hey, can you book the tickets? I'm in a meeting. And I thought, I only just released it. Like, we'll have loads of time. And I was like, all right, I'll get on it. He messaged on, I'll get on it and book the tickets. Yeah, gone within 2 days. It was wild.
Crazy. That is crazy, isn't it? Yeah, it's cool
Yeah.
to hear. Like I think
Yeah.
it is catching on, and it's so accessible for everyone that it's great to see it growing in each different part of the world. What about running where you are? Like, is there run clubs and things, or like good
They're
running routes and
yeah, they're getting busier. I mean, saying that, in Bangkok, we've had some really bad pollution recently. So to the point where the government made public transport free for everyone. So people wouldn't be driving their cars. You'd wake up and it would be like completely hazy outside your window, people wearing like masks for health reasons. So running, and as well as extremely hot. So if I'm running, I have to be on the track latest 7 a.m. Like I don't really want to be running past 8:30 in the morning because it's just way too hot. They have some good parks, some good running routes. A lot of people will go to the track to run. But the one good thing I think is, I mean, it being really hot, it does condition you really well. So going, obviously, Hyrox, it's all inside, it's air conditioned. So when I went to Hong Kong, I was freezing my ass off. I don't know like how cold it was in that stadium. I was so cold. I think that definitely helped me. So training as well, the gym I go to, it's open air, so it's covered, but the whole side of it is open and with just fans. So I mean, immediately you walk into the gym, you do your warm up and you're already sweating buckets. So training in a hotter environment, I think definitely has its advantage. Training outside when it's a little bit warm, obviously you want to make sure, and I need to remember to do this, is to hydrate a lot more. But when I was living down south on a small island, it was really hilly. So I do a lot of hiking, or I do a lot of really slow zone 2 running on the hills, and that was something that improved my fitness massively, was just really slow hill running or hiking, and I love it. Put a podcast in or some like chill music, and then I found to be really beneficial for my fitness. So, and then as well the heat. So actually I think running out here, I think we do quite well, probably because of just the environment, and then put us into aircon, and we're like, oh my God, this is so wonderful. I
Yeah,
can get around this easy. Saying that, I thought, oh, maybe my heart rate will be lower. I looked at just before this call, I looked at my watch to find out what my heart rate was in Hong Kong. I was in zone 5 for 35 minutes of the race.
I don't think there is. I don't think you can do Hyrox with a heart rate less than like zone 4. I just don't think you can. I think you just get into the max and you just hold it.
Yeah.
And you stop it, don't you?
Yeah.
I just
I
don't
mean,
think.
I felt great, but yeah, looking
Yeah.
back, I was like, oh, like in like above 170 for most of the race. Saying that, I just watched also who is it? The Buttery Bros, if you know them, they
Oh
do like a
yeah,
lot
I
of
wanted to
CrossFit.
watch.
Ah,
Yeah, I've
they're
not
amazing. They just released a video doing doubles with Lauren Weeks. I can't remember who was. I think it was Heba was doing it with Lauren Weeks. The camera kept asking her, she's going around the race, like, what's your heart rate? And she was like, 112, 96. So I was like, all right, obviously I've got a way to go here.
Oh God.
Don't
That's
worry.
after a race as well.
That's not what ours was.
I think we
Yeah.
both finished and it said new threshold heart rate, didn't it? When we
Yeah.
finished. I don't think I could speak, to be fair.
And then
Yeah.
what about so your Hyrox race when you raced in Hong Kong? We like to usually ask about the mental side of things. Like, is there any tips that you have for anyone during a race to help them carry on or push into that zone 5 and stay there for 35 minutes? Yeah, is there anything you can think back that helped you keep going?
Oh, I know I just said like don't be going all out in every workout. There are those workouts that I'm sure people listening will remember, like a specific workout where they entered the pain cave, and it will be like lasting memory in their head, of that like snapshot. You know what it was like, where it just felt like everything goes black. And you're just having to like drag yourself through. I think doing elements like that help you prepare for something like Hyrox, in that you know you've done something hard, you can push through. So actually getting, and I can't remember who it was talking on a podcast or something about this, that actually it's a privilege and you want to get to those pain cave moments because you're like, I'm here. Okay, dig in, head down. So one thing that I did for the Hong Kong race that I will now do for every single, I didn't do it this competition, but I will do for every single competition because it helped so much, was I was in the start tunnel. I think I had probably like 6 minutes until my heat started. And I was like, I need to do something. Ran across the stadium to where they do the bag checks, because I knew they had permanent markers, and I had my race number on my left forearm. I was like, can I use your marker? Grabbed it, and she was like, what do you need this for? Grabbed it, and I wrote, I've got this, on my right forearm inside. And it was something that I'd spoken to my coach the night before. I think he had said it, like, I was telling him like, oh, I'm feeling a bit anxious. Like, I'm just going to blurt out all my worries to you. And he's like, yeah, go for it. And I think his ending message was like, you've got this. And so I was like, okay, I need to write this on my arm. And it was the one thing every single lap I did, usually around the same place as we passed, I would look down at my arm and I would say it to myself, I've got this. And that was, I'd gone to Hong Kong on my own. There were people I knew there from the gym and some acquaintances, but I kind of was there pretty much on my own for majority of it. So it was the one thing I could look at, like to say back to myself of like, you've got this, you're in control. You just got to keep going. The next lap, the next station, take it one at a time. And that's something that I've tried hard to condition myself, is don't think of, oh my God, I've got, it's only been 10 minutes. I've got maybe like another 70 minutes of this, or I've got 100 wall balls to do. It's like, break it up. Any workout now that I do, I'll break it up, reps and sets, go through the one rep, go through that first set, and then on to the next. Like, make it manageable in your head, those small goals or milestones. Like, I think anyone who's been out running, you'll know this. Like, if you're outside, you'll be like, okay, run to that tree, get to the tree. Okay, now that lamppost, you keep going. Or if it's like, I do math, if I'm on a treadmill, if I'm on one of the ergs, if it's like 1,000 meters, I'm like, okay, that's, half of that is 500. Or I didn't, a quarter of that is 250, and you kind of break it up that way. You're like, okay, I've done a quarter. Okay, I've done a third. I do it when I'm reading as well. Like, I'll look at what page number I'm on. I'm like, okay, I've made it a third of the way through the book. Like, you just find, for me, it's about making the work manageable into sections and then just ticking it off as you go. And so that's why I did. Writing that on my arm was probably the best thing ever. I don't know if I get it tattooed on me yet, but I definitely highly recommend it to anyone if there's something you can write in your arm or look at, or something visual, because it'll always, I'm a very visual person, so always bringing myself back to that one thing just to ground myself, I think can be really helpful in those moments where you maybe start to spiral and spin and think, oh my God, I've got all this work to do. I feel like crap, or am I cramping? Or we start going, am I thirsty? Yeah, I think I'm thirsty. Oh my God, I need water. Where's the water? It's like, no, come back down. Like, come back inside to yourself. Like, you're here, you're solid, you're grounded. Yeah.
Why am I doing this? What am I doing? The exit. Where's the exit?
Yeah. I know.
There's a few people that have said it though, and it is coming up more and more. Like Joanna Waitrick writes on her shoes, on the toes of her, and she said that really helped her, because then when she's sitting in the rower, she can see the toes of her shoe, and like you got at a certain time on your run, you look at your arm. And yeah, it's quite good to bring yourself back to it, isn't it? I think at the moment I've only ever had a number.
Yeah, I know.
We need to start doing it.
Yeah.
It's really, really helpful, especially if you don't have someone there to cheer you on. You need to cheer yourself on. So
yeah, no, totally. And then the one thing like we've got to say is, to be fair, after Auckland, like everyone was so nice going around the track. Everyone was like,
oh my God.
And then like people were cheering each other, and it was such a nice, it's probably the nicest race for an atmosphere. And I was like, when you go around, you're thinking, oh, this is nice. Like everyone's cheering everybody on. So like you did feel like people were cheering for you, and you kept going. It was quite a cool.
And the staff as well. I think the Hyrox race, especially Hong Kong, was run always on time, like pristine, and as well. I don't know if this one specific race, I don't know if it's the same elsewhere, where they have allowing people to cross like into the middle so they can watch people doing the stations, and it's obviously the run track around. So they have this kind of walkway partition, and how they organize that is absolutely fantastic. And so there was a woman there who did in shifts, that she was there kind of controlling the spectator traffic. So every lap, if she was on there, I think before I started, I'd introduce myself. Now around the lap, she's like, go Lizzie. I'm like, thank you. I've forgotten her name now. I feel awful, but it was really wonderful. Even the staff are really encouraging and lovely. And it's the one thing I know, like Hyrox gets a lot of flack for judges and how they judge and the rules. And I'm wondering what your kind of opinion is on this. That I think I put a post up saying like, can we, or like sharing some comments I got that were like a little bit negative about judges. And so my post was kind of that a lot of the judges are volunteers, like they're not getting anything out of this. Like maybe they get free food or something, but a lot of them are just there doing it in their free time. And it is insanely stressful to judge, because the shifts are up to like 6 hours at a time. when there's loud music, people running around, as well, if you're not like a super confident person, and even still to tell someone like no rep, if it's a lunge and they continue moving or they try and like argue with you about it, um, that someone put a comment which was really interesting, saying judges are there to hold a standard, not to be kind of a motivator. So actually they should be very strict and harsh. And it's of that thing of, well, what about if there's someone who knows really struggling hard, but they're putting in all that effort, compared to Elite 15, where, they could possibly be making money. Like, this is maybe their job to do these races, to be recognized in this way. Is there a division that needs to happen where the judging is a little bit more lax? And she was saying, it's like, well, judges are not there to judge effort. They're there to judge a rep to a standard. So it is kind of that. And I agree with that. Like, it really, to keep it fair, it should just be this is a rep and and anything else is a no rep. But we still see it time and time again of people that slip through the cracks of maybe a no rep, or is like questionable movement. People seem to really love to point that out. I think there was a whole like Facebook page at one point of people just posting photos and videos of people doing no reps and being like, they're not doing the rep correctly. No. I'm like, okay, well, why don't you just go and do it correctly yourself, please? Like, that's all that matters, really. Do you really care what Susan from this other country, she did this one time? Like, does it really matter?
You're always going to get like keyboard warriors, aren't you, though? And like,
Yeah.
I'd even be surprised if half of them have never done a Hyrox. Like, I just think my personal opinion on it is that I know like you have to have specific judging, and especially for people now, because the sport is becoming professional at the top end of the elite team, with like sponsorships and contracts and money and stuff on the line. Then I think 100% the judging has to be really good, really on point and fair across the board, and to a point for all the age groupers as well, because they're starting to get on podiums. But then when you get to the end of the race where people are doing it for them and they're doing it to compete, and maybe they haven't got the mobility, or maybe they're struggling on some of the exercises, I think there's a certain like allowance to allow somebody to get through and complete the race. If somebody's not vying for a podium position, but they might just be competing against themselves for a PB, or it's just to finish the race, then like making them redo a lunge like 7 times because their knee's not touching the floor, or making them squat below parallel like specifically on every single wall ball, and I just don't think it's going to take away that community aspect and the fun of Hyrox. So it's hard to know where that line is, and like it merges, and that's the not my job, thank God. Like, that's somebody in Hyrox's job to work out. But you need to keep that element of it being a sport for everybody, as well as keeping that specific competitive element at the top if you're going to offer money and it's going to become a professional sport. So
I think the other side is just to educate give the judges more educational courses, or pay them, maybe even that gives them an incentive, like if they have to go through a course or something that gives them more confidence or knowledge about what is and what isn't a no rep. I don't know, but saying that, I will be a head judge for Bangkok as well, so the pressure's on for me.
Well, then you can experience it firsthand, and then that would be cool if you did on your feed though, like a kind of reel or something about being a head judge. So like from that,
I know you get because I have to do a full day because I'm competing on the Saturday, and then I'll do Sunday as the full day of judging. So can't remember what time. It's like 12 hours of judging or something. I'm sure, fingers crossed, with breaks. But you're assigned, as far as I know, a specific station. So I'm kind of just there, like, it would be great to be for, burpees or wobbles, where actually there is a lot of arguments about no reps and how clear
like,
people
come on,
are.
bring it on.
Part of me is like,
the argumentative station.
Like, can I just be on like the rowers or the farmers carry? Something like
But
so we'll
it
see
will
when it
be
comes to it.
interesting though. It'll be
And the
really
other side is now and this is still wild, like I still can't wrap my head around it. Like, even Hong Kong, when I think back then, I don't know how many followers I had, maybe 30 or 40,000, people were coming up to me saying like, are you Liz May Fit? And I was like, Yes, that's me. People that I no idea in a different city, different country were recognizing me, which is really, really cool. And got it in Bangkok as where was it? Or now in Bangkok from like get messages from people. I said, "Oh, I'm going to be judging." They're like, "Oh, I'll see you there. Like I'm joining as well." So it'll be what I really love about it is to be able to meet lots of people and from different people that have followed me or my tips. And I still think it's wild. People are like, "Oh my God, your page is great. The tips you give." And I'm like, I'm just sharing my own experience and things that I think are helpful. And I guess it's just because it's from myself, my own experience, that it comes across as being very authentic, which it is. But yeah, it's going to be wonderful to be out there and then see so many people and to be in the shoes of a judge as well, see the other side of Hyrox. So I definitely will try and make a video about it.
Yeah, pleasant to see that. And you're right, like what people say about your page is like the tips and everything you give, it does come across as very authentic.
Yeah.
Rather than, I know you say you have to grab people's attention on Instagram, but it's like you grab people's attention, but with something that is actually useful and would support somebody to either get fitter or improve their race. So yeah, fair play. It is a really, really good. I can see where you've grown. It's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah,
Yeah, even
it
when
was
we
never.
came across it though, it's just
Yeah.
nice and it's quick and it's easy and you come up with some like solutions for like even technique or anything like that people just maybe haven't thought about, because it's a good way to improve your race time by just looking at these little things that maybe people haven't even considered. So
Yeah, I'm glad it's helpful to people. And I always think like, although we're all unique individuals and beings, that if I'm thinking something in my head, guarantee there is one other person out there who is feeling or thinking the same way. And so that's kind of my thinking with it, or what I post is like just sharing those inside thoughts maybe that will resonate with someone else. I have to say though that some of the comments, and I'm very grateful that I don't get a lot of negative comments, because everything I do is, like I said, I'm still learning as I go and growing, and I'm sure the more races I do, the more experience I'll get, and I'll have different ideas or tactics for training and coaching. But it's definitely taught me to be very humble, and also to really like put my hand and be like, "Oh, actually you're right, maybe I was wrong," or "Let me go find out, I don't know the answer to that." And to really invite discussion, and not just to say like I'm the authority on this, like my way or the highway. Like what I'm saying is just like, no, like please, like educate me, because that's for me that's the whole point of this, is I'm just wanting to learn and grow, and then I can share that with somebody else. So I'm kind of, what I loved about it is it's also performance. It's not about how you look, aesthetics, it's what you can do, which I think which is what I transitioned away from. And it's still kind of something that I'm sure, I think for men as well, I think very prominent in women, that they feel like that need to kind of, or desire to look a certain way still in fitness, because you do have that side of bodybuilder, more aesthetics, competition, that side, and you can get into a whole discussion about it. But the performance side is what I found to be, for my mental well-being, so much better. And that's why I know people have a lot of flack as well about CrossFit versus Hyrox, but it's all performance based, and I think that's fantastic. It's more about what you can do, not what you look like, and you're fueling your body right, you're recovering right. So I think it's definitely a healthier way of doing sport, for sure.
It's brilliant that it's becoming, that it's leading like down that way and away from becoming a stick thin model like that can't 2 kilo weights or whatever.
Oh my God, I was there once. I'm sure I was there once when like,
I think everyone
doing
probably
like,
has been. You just
not
totally
even breaking a
influenced by what
sweat,
you
just
I know. Do my weightlifting. I'm at 2 kilo weights.
Before we go on to the cheeky insights, I just wanted to ask, have you noticed, is there like a certain tip or maybe a genre of tips that you feel have been like most well received or most popular, like that you could give for our listeners? Or is it all just kind of on a whole, everyone should definitely anyway go and check out your page and have a look? But I just wondered if there was one, maybe, I don't know, a sled pull technique that went down really well, or anything that jumps out at the top of your head.
I have to say, this one it's a funny one. Oh, well, one thing I think that really I want to share now, if for anyone listening, that I see all the time, I think people still do, and I think it drastically needs to change, is the damper setting on your row and your ski erg. I think coming from, I don't know why, from an F45 background, or just not being educated, or the coach is not educating, is always having it like on a 10, because 10 means the top, it means the hardest. So if I do the hardest one, it means I'm working really hard, I'm going to progress. For myself, my ski erg, I'm on a 4, 3 or 4 when I ski, and for the row, I'm usually a 4, maybe a 5, but on the definite lower end. And it's something I always say to people, like I'll walk past them when I was coaching classes. I'll walk past them this one time in F45. She had it on a 10, and I could see like her technique was kind of struggling. I'm like, you would be better if we move it down. So I didn't even say anything. I just like flipped it down to a 6. She gave me the biggest death stare and was like, no, 10. I want it 10. I was like, okay, then you do you. But I think it's definitely something that people at least need to experiment with. Like experiment on a 2, a 4, a 6, like do a minute on each, see how the different ones feel. Because I think really like no one needs to go above a 7 unless like for specific sprints, maybe. But for the majority of us, you'll probably find that your pacing and performance will improve a lot by having it a lot lower. So that's, I think, and I don't know what you girls use on the ergs, if it's similar or you prefer something high. Everyone's different, and it depends on your body weight, if where you're strongest as well. But I've noticed like I like having it a little bit lower. Use the machines for recovery.
Yeah.
Jane Erbacker from the Erg Army will definitely love you for that. She is going
She's fantastic.
to tell the world to get their damper setting off 10. So
Yeah.
I think like you're going to get a massive high five from her for that tip, because
yeah. But there was one other video that went I don't think it was viral, but people started, and this is not to say toot my own horn, but I thought it was hilarious. People started posting the same video. It was even one guy who did the same exact filming shots and the same text as me, and it was on a sled pull. I had this crazy idea. I like to be creative with some things that I test out. And it's, in the sled pull, it has like a bit of give to it, the rope, and you have to kind of take the slack out before you can start pulling. I thought, how can I replicate this in my gym? Like that it might have a little bit of a give. So I tied to the front of the sled, I tied a thick elastic band twice. So it only gives like a little bit of stretch, but still can hold some weight to it. And then attach the rope to the resistance band. So when you pull, the resistance band will stretch, replicating that the slack you have to take out. And I just posted, I thought, this is kind of like, obviously don't do it all the time, but it's an interesting way to feel how it might feel in a race. Yeah. And I've seen probably since maybe a month later, about 3 or 4 different accounts who've posted the same video. It might not have been me, maybe there was someone else before me, because I'm sure I didn't reinvent the wheel or whatever, but that's one funny thing. And then people were saying like in the comments of my video, like, isn't this illegal in Hyrox? And I'm like, no, this is training. This is just training. Don't attach your own. I don't know.
Make your own resistance band.
Yeah. So
that's good.
That was
But
just a funny instance.
If people are copying you, it means you're doing something right. It's what do they say? It's flattery, really.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's also a good tip that like people may not know, especially if they've not raced a Hyrox yet, is sometimes when you do get to the sled pull, you pull the rope and you feel like nothing happens and it doesn't move, and it's usually because it doesn't really, and it does just get the tension out of the rope, and like the further away the sled is, the harder it is to pull towards you. I think it's like
yeah, I mean that was my worst station, I have to say, only because I hadn't really nailed my technique for the sled before I went into it. So I got there thinking I'll just do hand over hand, and nope, that didn't. 2 pulls and I was like, this is going to take me forever. So I tried like the kind of like holding the hip hinge, standing up and walking back. But yeah, that was kind of trying to figure it out on the fly for that one.
Yeah, it just take like, and that's the thing, sometimes just the technique. It's not, you don't need to be fitter, you don't need to be stronger. Sometimes just learning the technique for the station.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So much. So that's where like pages like yours, where you can find technique tips and tricks, try them out at your gym before you get there, and actually you might take minutes off your station just by being aware of a better technique.
Yeah.
100%.
Should we do it?
Perfect. Yeah, should we go? We've got 8 questions to finish
Okay.
off.
Go for
If
it.
you're ready, yeah.
Yes.
First one is, which shoes do you wear to race Hyrox?
So Hong Kong, I wore, this is funny because this is the probably one of the biggest questions I see people ask is like, what shoes should I wear? This was before my race. This was probably the one thing that like was troubling me the most, because I asked it myself. I'm like, what shoes should I wear? Because everyone was asking it and posting about it. I think now I say, so I raced in the Hoka Arahi 7s. Great shoe. I have wider feet, so it caters for that. Has really nice stability around the ankle, nice and plushy. So stable with a little bit of that like foaminess for the running. I think fantastic shoe, good grip. I didn't have any issues with it. I think for anyone who is kind of maybe more like beginner intermediate runner, fantastic for that. Now in my running training, I really love the Adidas Adizero Boston 12s. Love them for running. The one thing is there's like no ankle support. So when people ask like, what shoes should I wear? I say, wear what you wear running right now that's comfortable and that fits your foot. You don't need carbon plate. You don't need the most expensive trendy thing. Whatever you wear now that's really comfortable, wear that. Because if you like wearing it, if it fits your foot, you're not going to be thinking about it in the race and you know it's going to work. But with that, I might wear the Adidas next because I've been slowly training more of like the lunges, the wobbles in it. So I'm kind of learning how I can be more stable on my feet. Maybe I'll go back to the Hokas. I'm not really sure. But yeah, it seems to be the hot topic of what shoe. And I'm not gonna lie, I do pick my shoes for color. That's like priority number one in the outfit.
Yeah. Okay, so once you pick your outfit, we'll know what trainers you're gonna wear. We'll wait to see.
Actually, yes.
Okay. Next one, I think I know your answer, is what venue's been your favorite Hyrox venue. So
well, it's gonna be Hong Kong at the moment.
But
we'll
this
see.
could change. Yeah.
It could change as I do more. Yeah, we'll see. At the moment, I'm just been kind of gonna stick to Asia and do the Asia routes for now. But we'll see.
Is Bangkok indoors? Is it in
everything will be indoors. I think Bangkok is like the entire thing is indoors.
Okay, yeah.
I really wanted to do New Zealand because I saw it was outdoors, the run.
Yeah.
But knowing that it was hot, maybe that's not a good idea. I don't know.
I mean, you'd been all right in the heat. I think we were
Yeah.
about all right because we've been there for like 8 weeks. But had we just got off a plane and did it, I'm not sure. But
it's nice
the
to
one
get...
lap was nice.
Yeah, and it's
I was
nice.
and it was one lap. Yeah, that's helpful.
That was a mental game changer. Like knowing you could just run one lap, even the fact you didn't have to count your laps was just so.
Yeah.
I think that was more beneficial than actually running outside.
Yeah.
So
no, exciting. Okay, well, we'll watch this space, see if Bangkok takes the spot or not.
Yeah.
Next one, which is your favorite Hyrox station?
Knowing that you were going to ask this question, I've tried to think of what I would answer, and I probably would say 2. One is the rower, because I take it quite slow. Like I've tried to work, and my technique still isn't perfect. The people in the comments of my Instagram will tell me my technique is not perfect, but I figured out a way to get like a good pace that I'm comfortable with that allows it to be active recovery for me. So I'd probably say the row, but to be honest, the burpees I don't mind too much. Again, I hated burpees like when I first got into oh, there we go. I've got someone calling me, sorry. I need to turn that off. I hated burpees growing up, and like it was the one thing I dreaded the most. And it was only when I learned how I can slow down my burpees that I was like, I can do a burpee slow and do 100 of them, no problem. So like you said, it's all technique, all pacing and breathing. So burpees I don't mind either.
Yeah, fair. Like it. Okay, next one. If you could do a doubles Hyrox with anyone in the world, dead or alive, who would it be?
So I asked, this is probably about a couple months ago, I put up like a question box on my Instagram asking what people who they would want to have as doubles. And I had people saying, which I would also agree with, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, I think would be quite fun to do a doubles with. And obviously people like the CrossFit athletes, Tia Claire Toomey was in there. For me, one of the Buttery Bros, I think would be amazing. One, because they're like their just energy is fantastic. I think it would be really, really fun. Or someone I follow on Instagram, Tom Trotter. I don't know if you've seen him. So I've only ever known him for doing like cycling and running videos, and he's always done like holding the camera up, running with his mum. And he's like not eccentric, but he has such a positive attitude about it. He's like, I'm here running with my mum, or like cycling, and always a very optimistic outlook. So that's, for me, it's someone who brings that energy, because sometimes I can get quite in my head and serious. Like if you ask any of my friends that watch me when I compete, like I kind of go like game face mode on and like don't smile. Saying that, Hong Kong, I smiled around every single lap, every single run. I was smiling. I was doing like the dancing finger guns to the music, which is not like me at all. I really enjoyed it. And I think because I paced it so well. So yeah, Tom Trotter, the Buttery Bros, someone who brings the energy.
Yeah, good, fair shout that.
Yeah, good answer. I like it. Okay, next one is, do you fuel for Hyrox? And if so, what do you take and when do you take it during the race?
So I don't. Just for me, it's one extra thing I have to think about. During the race, I think I grabbed, oh God, this is awful, grabbed a cup of water. I didn't stop running. As soon as I get out of the station, like the rock zone, I start running again. I didn't stop for anything. I grabbed a cup of water, didn't pinch it, so the whole thing just went down my face. Luckily, it was just water. It wasn't Red Bull or anything. Tried again to grab some water, took a sip, and it was like something electrolyte. I didn't like the taste. So I, still running, tried to throw it into the bin, and it just landed against the side, down the wall. And it was the cleaner standing right next to it. And I just looked at her like, I'm sorry. As I ran past, I was like, oh God. I should have like just slowed down to like gently put it in. But no, I've never taken gels or anything like that. In training, like I'll have something beforehand, and maybe like if it's an interval, I might have something like, I know a lot of people like gummy bears, something sweet. I'll try normally with natural fruits. I know that sits better with my stomach. So if it's like dried mango or dried guava or something that we have out here, banana, but otherwise electrolytes beforehand, something carby, bananas. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
And just hope for God that I'm okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully don't pick up Red Bull and throw it all over yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Honestly, Red Bull, I can't think of anything worse. Like, I'm so sorry if you love Red Bull. That's even the smell of it. It's just not.
Yeah.
This reminds me of Jaeger bombs, isn't it? Like,
That's what it is.
it's
Start
really
from when I was like
hungover.
18. Yeah.
I think that's like ruined it for most people, hasn't it?
Not what you want in a race. Okay, next one. What's your favorite type of training session for Hyrox?
Ooh. Favorite type of training. I would probably say any kind of running. I'm not a runner. I mean, I'm more of a sprinter from doing football. But the kind of the zone 2 or the more threshold training, I find mentally challenging. So I'd actually say they feel the most rewarding to get through, because it does pushes me mentally. It's like your body can do anything. It's really your mind has to like tell it to keep going. So whether it's a zone 2 and you're having to like understand with your breathing how to bring your heart rate down, or it's threshold, like keeping the knees up or keeping the feet, your stride a certain way, I'd probably say running, because of the payoff it gives me afterwards with my progression with my running. But otherwise, yeah, zone 2 training, like hiking or something, I think is really great. Something you actually love doing that gets you outside in fresh air.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good shout.
Next one is, why should someone sign up for their first Hyrox? I know it's a very open question, but
That is. So with that question, I have to say, because I sometimes ask people that I see in the gym, maybe I've just met them or we're just chatting about, and the topic of Hyrox, obviously it comes up, and I say like, oh, are you gonna join Hyrox in May in Bangkok? And they say, oh no, not really. And I actually really admire people that are just not into competing and not into competitions, because I kind of have that like, yes, that FOMO, and constantly saying yes to things like, oh, you're doing it. Someone asked me, I'm like, okay, I'll sign up. Okay, I'll do this. And I actually really like people that kind of have strong boundaries of like, I don't like competing. I don't want to push myself in that way, or it's not my thing. So I'm not going to do it. I know this doesn't answer your question. And it
We're
doesn't
slightly
like,
off tangent for a Hyrox podcast here, Lizzie.
I know. So
Don't do
don't do it. No. What I would say is it gives you a goal to work towards. So that's if you're kind of feeling lost in training, or like the idea of working towards aesthetics or just running or one discipline, it kind of feels a bit boring. I think Hyrox is a great one that's so open and broad. You have to do a bit of running, strength training, conditioning, your different zone heart rate training. I think it's a really nice way to have a broad spectrum and variety in your sessions, and as well to be able to join a class and meet new people. There are a lot of sports like that where you can go to a gym and be in that setting of people all training for the same thing and be of all different walks of life and abilities. So I would say just to meet new people and add variety to your training. If you feel a little bit stuck or you don't know what you like, just give it a go. Just do a class.
Yeah, and there's so many classes now. You can kind
my
of get
God.
the taste of it now without having to sign up for the race, like, which is quite nice, because I think like at the start people didn't really know what they were walking into. It was all just kind of going in blind and giving it a go, whereas at least now you can probably go to a Hyrox class, or even like do a Hyrox sim somewhere if you wanted, like compared to before. So
Yeah, I've heard some things of people go like signing up and at the race and they've never really done a wall ball before, and I'm like, oh dear God. Like, I'm like, how many no reps, like, and maybe they get it right, but and good on them. Love that. Like, people just signing up, just going for it. They're like, I don't know what it was, I just signed up for it. I'm like, good for you. You obviously don't have the
Sometimes
same fear
ignorance
that I have.
okay, last one is there anyone that you would love to see on our podcast and hear more from, or a type of person in this space?
Oh my God, I wasn't prepared for this one. I've got to think on the fly. Who I love to hear from. Oh my God, if you can get what is her name again? Jane from the Erg Army. Have you had her on
I
yet?
did think we've had her on, but I did think
Have you? Oh,
we need a
I haven't gone back far enough.
She was one of our
First ones,
first episodes, I
Yeah.
think.
Oh,
It was probably about a year ago now, so we could definitely do a
Or-
She just did
or
one
actually,
life that's like definitely worth listening to. And someone like shared a comment on her, and I said to you the other day, like, she's so enthusiastic, isn't she? She's absolutely brilliant. And someone said if I could be as like, passionate about anything in life as Jane is about like everything. Yeah, she's like, come on. She's just great to listen to, isn't she? And like you said, with the ergs, like the tips there that you could help for Hyrox to save energy and efficiency. She's a good one.
yeah. Or someone just kind of seeing in the news, like obviously Matt Fraser, who's just done, I think he just did a doubles with O'Keefe, I think. I'd be interested to know what his standpoint is on, because it's always just, I think, just for the gossip a little bit, like just to stir the pot, just to know, so like that CrossFit Hyrox like rivalry of what his thoughts are. But
there's been a few CrossFitters now, and I think Justin Medeiros did one as well the same
yes,
weekend, didn't he? Like
he did really well.
Like coming in and giving it a go. It is interesting.
It's interesting to see what they think of the race, you know, because they've competed so much in their life and done such a wide range of events, like there's so many different like formats of workouts. So it would be interesting to see what they would think of that format of workout. I
mean, how we'll try.
But
I have to say, like, anyone, I think, I mean, I love hearing about women specifically. I think it's very empowering to everyone, because we all have obviously we're women, we have something in common, but I think hearing specifically from women, it's just so wonderful to hear more from women in sports, because we are on the rise and doing really, really well. So yeah, the more women you have, and you do, so just keep doing what you're doing. I love it.
No, that's awesome. And then is there anything else you want to add to before we jump off? Is there anything you've like want to say to all the listeners, or anything you've got coming up, any exciting projects or anything?
Oh, actually, retreats. I know I was just listening to, you did a a podcast as well with was it Naomi Heffernan? She mentioned retreats at the end, so I'm gonna say the same thing.
Yeah.
Possibly
Good.
retreats where I'll be coaching in May. So if people want to know about that, they can just follow me
And would they be in
on
Thailand
Instagram.
or?
Yes, possibly in Reunion Island, which I'd never heard of this place either. It's a tiny island close to Madagascar, and also possibly Switzerland. So a few different
Oh,
places
cool. Yeah.
around.
Good
Yes.
mountain biking in Reunion Island. They do a good mountain bike race there. That's the only
Yeah,
reason.
I've had like I think
Yeah.
the topography is great for endurance, for running, for mountain biking or cycling.
Yeah, random, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so the
That's
best
something
place
to
for everyone to
consider.
find you, I'm guessing, is Instagram.
Yes, that's the only place that I post on. It's at Liz May Fit, which is funny. Liz isn't I go by Lizzie since birth. Although my races and all my competitions, I put my legal name, which is Elizabeth, so no one can find anything that I do. So it's Lizzie, but it's Liz May Fit on Instagram, and now I just get called Liz. So, but that's my own doing.
Was Lizzie Mayfit taken, or did you just come up with like?
Maybe, or like would have been like Lizzie May 1, 2, 3, 4 or something.
Yeah,
So I
something
was
like really
keep
annoying.
it short. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well, okay. Well, we'll still talk and address you as Lizzie, and then hopefully it'll catch on. But thank you so much for your time. We will link your Instagram in the show notes, and we'll obviously share it on our Instagram so people can find you. Yeah, for everyone listening, hopefully this has been super handy for you to get some tips for your next Hyrox race, or maybe your first Hyrox race. Head over to Lizzie's page, Liz Mayfit, and yeah, go and check out all the tips on there as well, because we think that'll help you out loads. And yeah, we can't wait to see how you go on when the Hyrox comes to Thailand.
Yeah.
And you're the head
very
judge
exciting.
at the wall balls.
Yeah, everyone look out for you.
I will now we've put it in the universe. I will end up being the head judge for Warbles.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, everybody, thank you so much. Please share this episode far and wide so more people can find Lizzie's page. And yeah, if you could give us a follow on the podcast, that really helps us out to get awesome guests like Lizzie. And we will catch you on the next episode.